Hey guys, it's Thursday, May 13th, 2021, um, and it's about 8:40 in the morning. So, just to kind of give everybody a recap in case there are people who are joining this audio message that I'm leaving, there's about 1,400 people that follow us on this book of ours, Art and Community page. Oftentimes, we like to do audios to talk about current events. Sometimes we talk about pop culture. We also talk about, certain things that are going on in our lives and how they may apply to you or to a situation that you may be able to relate to. I think that a lot of us are experiencing similar issues and similar challenges in the age of COVID. And one of the challenges that JP and I face is this situation with his part-time minimum wage job. And so to go back to give you a little bit of a refresher in case you hadn't heard, JP and I left San Francisco in 2018 and moved 3,000 miles away to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We did not do this by choice. We did it because we had no other choice. As I mentioned yesterday in an audio that I did on this very channel, one of the ways that we know that we are an adult is that we take a look at, the situation that's at hand in our lives. And when we were living in San Francisco, our output or the things that we needed to do to survive was less than what we were bringing in. And so, as responsible adults who realize that that is not a sustainable way of living, where we're paying $2,000 or more a month in rent, and yet there's no money coming in, we realize that that is not a practical, sustainable, adult, responsible, mature way of living our lives. So we had to make a radical change. We lived in San Francisco for all of our lives, basically. Um, and this was a huge decision to have to leave our home and move 3,000 miles away. We took 1 year. We took the year of 2017 to travel the country and look at different cities and different neighborhoods within those cities, different boroughs and municipalities within those cities, all across, all over the place. We went to Detroit, Michigan. We went to South Carolina. We went to Georgia. We went to Portland, Oregon. We considered maybe moving way out of San Francisco in California, like in the East Bay, which is another part of California. San Francisco sits on the bay. It's three quarters surrounded by water. So you move further inland or further east and you get further away from the water. Sometimes housing is a bit cheaper. So we did that. So for all of 2017, we really looked, very meticulously at different homes that we could possibly afford to purchase. We left, and we kind of just followed our instinct and followed our gut in this whole process. And we ended up choosing a home in an area of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is about 10 or 15 minutes right outside of downtown Pittsburgh. And we found a home that was incredibly cheap. The sellers wanted to sell fast, and we were able to scrounge up the last bit of cash that we had, and we were able to purchase this home. And we've been living here since August of 2018. Now, this is a home that is located in a neighborhood of deep poverty. There are rubbled out streets and lots of blight. The taxes that we do pay every year don't seem to go towards improving the neighborhood. There's been a few shootings. There really hasn't been anything like robbery or anything like that. In the age of COVID, if you fast forward to the age of COVID, we have had multiple evictions all around us. People have been kicked out of their homes, and there's been a few suicides as well. Neighborhoods of deep poverty that are subject to wraparound services and a lot of social control tend to fall into drug addiction in order to escape the social control that's put on them by the local municipalities or the local state government. Now, in the age of COVID, we've seen a rise in addiction issues. There is a halfway house, so to speak, that's right behind us, and a lot of new people have been come into the home in order to work on their addiction issues, and they come through our backyard and walk through our backyard and into our private alleyway in order to get to like the main street. And we're fine with that. We don't feel threatened by them. These are people that are suffering deeply. They have no income. They have no hope. So there's a lot of poverty here and a lot of depression. And this is a completely different culture than what we're used to in San Francisco, where there's a billionaire every 80 blocks. And even if you're struggling to make ends meet in San Francisco, or even if you are a homeless person in San Francisco, you still benefit from being around a billionaire every 80 blocks. You go sort of get the spillover of the money that they put into their own environments. All of the playgrounds are state of the art, whereas here there are no playgrounds for the children. Where we live, the children play in gravel and they throw graveled rocks for fun. We have, since we've lived here for almost 3 years now, we have put on 2 art and community events. Unfortunately, the people around here, especially in Pittsburgh, they don't really know how to say thank you properly, and they don't really understand the concept of community building. They are waiting for someone else to swoop in and rescue them. And we don't have the means, the time, the energy, or the money to continue to rescue these people. So we put on 2 successful community art walks, but we saw very little in return for that. We spent money and energy into something and didn't get anything back from it. So we are no longer going to make those bad investments anymore, because that's what it basically is. It would be like taking your hard-earned money and putting it into a bank, and then the bank would just eat it up, and you don't have any you don't see the benefit of investing in the bank. So that's what it was like. That's what it's kind of like living here, is a lot of energy and time goes into investing for the community, but the community doesn't know how to give back. The community doesn't know how to make those kinds of investments themselves in order to lift themselves up. We tried to start a neighborhood association back in 2018, 2019. And we told the locals here who have a few little, dingy little shops here and there, we said, we think a neighborhood association would be really beneficial to you. And they said, well, why? We've been, running our businesses for, 50 years, 25 years, 100 years. We don't need a neighborhood association. And JP and I said, well, there may come a time when your local municipality may decide that you need to close your business, but they will have no legal standing to do that. So a neighborhood association and a business association will protect your rights. And what if, what if suddenly your local municipality came to you and said, we need you to close your business because of a virus that there's no evidence of? And the people responded to us and said, oh no, that will never happen. That's crazy talk. You're crazy San Franciscans who don't know anything about anything. That's probably not going to happen. Well, it happened. And nobody was protected. And they had to close down their businesses. And they lost their income. And the majority of businesses that were affected by this were businesses in the Black community. So JP and I, when we moved here 3 years ago, we sent out our resumes and we filled out applications for the kind of work that we do, which is marketing. And I've been involved in education. I worked for Le Cordon Bleu, San Francisco, for 5 years. It's an art school. It was a culinary art school. JP is a designer, a UX designer. That means that what he does is he designs the interface that you have your experiences with on your iPhones and your iPads and your computers. When you log into your bank on your iPhone, it's one experience. But when you log into your bank on your computer, it's a kind of a different experience. And JP is the architect of those experiences. So he has this kind of really technical, very specific background that he's been doing for 20 years. But he was also part of the Small Business Development Center in San Francisco, where he was a consultant, where he got paid for helping people start their small businesses. He helped them get funding. He helped them become successful. And a lot of the small businesses that he worked with at the Small Business Development Center in San Francisco went on to become very successful. And he, as a result of his consulting with them, is why they became successful, because he understands the tools necessary in order to make their business successful. So we have a lot of really good, solid background. And so we thought that when we moved to Pittsburgh, that all the work we were doing for our community, which is, helping to put on these two successful art walks, trying to start the neighborhood association, giving people ideas on how to make their businesses more successful, and then all of our background, our decades and decades of experience and background and education would help us find a job in Pittsburgh pretty quickly. Well, it's almost been 3 years and still nobody wants to hire us. And now with the pandemic and the state of Pennsylvania being the state that has the highest level of unemployment than any other state in the country, which was the last statistic that I read, it's even harder to get a job. So the only job that would hire JP was a local school bus company that said, yeah, we are short of school bus drivers. We will hire you. And so he's been a school bus driver for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. And in between that time, we built out something called Book of Hours, where we started making video essays talking about what's happening in society today, in culture, with the economy, with technology. We started talking about the social and philosophical issues that are taking place during the age of COVID. We've hosted very popular people on our channel. So we have carved out a platform called Book of Hours, where we creatively assess what's happening in the world while we are trying to earn an income. Well, unfortunately, that job that he has had for the last couple of years is closing down because the school district says that there's just not enough students to justify the school bus company continuing to take students to and from school, so to their homes in the afternoon and then to school in the morning. So because of COVID-19, so to speak, more students are on their tablets sitting at home, and they don't necessarily need school bus drivers. So the contract with the company that JP works for was not renewed because of COVID-19, which means that JP is without a job. While the contract is still taking place, the school district was saying some really crazy things, like, we want to record people and violate their privacy to make sure that they are doing things like cleaning their buses and cleaning their vans. This is an egregious violation of your right to privacy as a human being. So what JP has to do every day when he parks his bus or parks his van, and again, he only has 2 students, and they social distance, and everybody sits 6 feet apart. So he's at the front, and then the one student is 6 feet apart from him, and then the other student is 6 feet apart from the other student. So there's only 2 students. So there's only 3 people in a school bus van at any given time. When he parks the van, he cleans the van. He uses a product that they give him, and he cleans down the van. And then he marks it off of his little checklist that says, yes, I cleaned the van. But the school district said, oh, no, that's not good enough. We need to record you. And that demand kind of petered off and went away. They didn't really enforce that demand. That seemed a little egregious and over the top. So JP is also recorded while he's driving. So there's a little camera in the van itself that will, if he picks up his cell phone to check for directions or something, then he could be fired immediately on the spot for touching his cell phone. And the little recording device in the van will alert the school district, which will then alert the company that JP works for, and the school district would then demand that JP be fired if he touched his cell phone. So you can see that working in that kind of environment would be very, it would make a person very anxious. It would cause a lot of anxiety. Well, so when we learned that the school district wasn't going to continue the contract with the school bus company and that JP was going to lose his job, by June 1st, we said, okay, well, we will give our platform Book of Hours full-time 150,000% of our attention, because this is the only way that we will be able to bring in an income. And right now we have a few patrons, which is helpful. The patrons, patronage is difficult in the time of COVID. We get some patrons that sign up, and then a couple of weeks later, they discontinue their patronage. And we think it's probably because they want to see our latest video essays, which are not available to the public. And then once they see them, they withdraw their patronage. And that's difficult. That's, because we work very hard on our platform, and we have curated, different ways that you can access our work for free. Plus, not only that, we've had these really popular people that we've hosted on our platform, and they're doing fine. They're making bank. They're getting funding, but we're not. So we're struggling. So we live... Hi, Amy. Thank you for saying good morning. So we live in this neighborhood of deep poverty because we had no choice. We could not continue to live in San Francisco and pay $2,000 a month when there's no money coming in. So we moved to Pittsburgh, PA, 3,000 miles away, and we were able to get this home with cash. And it's almost 100 years old, and there's a lot of problems with it, and it needs a lot of work. But right now, it's serving its purpose. It's a place where we can work. We don't have a dining room. We took the dining room we do have and turned it into sort of a library studio space where we do all of our creative work. So it looks like, even though June 1st was the date that JP was no longer going to be working because of the fact that the school district did not want to continue the contract with the company. It looks like it's going to come sooner. Right now, JP is not working. It's unclear if he will go back to work. So we are asking for patronage. We are asking people right now, today, to sign up to be a patron. And if you've already donated and you're also struggling to make ends meet, then please, this message does not apply to you. This message applies to people who could possibly afford $2 a month to support our work. And we do very good work. We have one of our most popular video essays has 12,000 views on it, and it's growing. It's been shared around by doctors who have 500,000 subscribers on their Instagram pages and on their Facebook pages, and have, and are very well off. And this video essay of ours called Communitarianism was shared by those people in the hopes that these wonderful doctors and these very popular, well-off people that were sharing our video in the hopes that it would help support us. We have had people who are very popular and almost famous mention our name. You must support the arts. You must support Book of Hours, they say. And so now, we are in a position where we're not sure if JP is going to go back to work. He had a pleasant-ish conversation with the guy who is temporarily running the office, and we're not sure what the next steps will be. So what we would like is for you to consider becoming a patron for $2 a month, so that we can have an income, so that we can survive. And you're not just donating because, a couple of people who live in a neighborhood of deep poverty need your help. What you're doing is you're investing in the arts. It would be the equivalent of going to a movie theater and buying a $12 movie ticket, and investing in that, in that entertainment. Although we are not entertainment, we are information. We take information that's given to us and we process it and turn it around and reveal it back to you in ways that hopefully you would feel comfortable sharing with other people. The goal of our work is for you to share it in a setting where, like, maybe you're having a party or you're having a dinner party or some kind of event, and you could say, hey, look, take a look at this hour-long video essay called Lifelong Learning. Lifelong Learning has around 6,000 views. If each person who viewed Lifelong Learning gave us $1 a month, then I think we would be okay. Even for those people who invest in Patreon, but then 2 weeks or 2 months later pull their patronage. If we had enough of a support system, then it would be okay for people to come and go and pull their patronage. Right now, we don't have that support system. And of course, I am not talking to those people who have made like a one-time generous donation to us. I'm not talking to you. You know who you are. So, as of today, we're not sure if JP has a job to go back to. And we're hoping that, that tomorrow we'll get a call from the manager that says, okay, things have been cleared up. You can go back to your shift until we close the office permanently on June 1st. So that would at least give him a couple more weeks of work and a little bit of money coming in. But as of now, that's not happening. So now that I've given you the full picture, and you've had an opportunity to go to our YouTube page and subscribe, and you've also had an opportunity to get to know us, please go to Patreon or Rockfin and subscribe to our Patreon page for $2 a month, or you can join Rockfin for free, and you can leave a tip in the tip jar, which I know a couple of people have done, but not enough. So the more interest we get generated onto our Rockfin page, which you can join for free, or even our YouTube page, which you can subscribe to for free, then the more visibility we have. And the more visibility we have, then the more opportunity we have to possibly have patrons who could help us survive. So I think that's really what I wanted to say. We had a little bit of a hiccup this morning when it was announced that, JP may not have a job to go back to as of today. When we were told that he had until June 1st, until they close the offices permanently. Now that decision may change, and we're hoping that it does, because the last thing in the world that we want to do is, beg for support. But we're not begging for support. We are working. It takes hours and hours and weeks, actually, to make a video essay. This is what we do. If we had opportunity to go work in the corporate sector again, we would probably take those jobs, but those jobs are not available. Pennsylvania is shutting down completely. Pennsylvania has already shut down. I recently spoke to somebody about a minimum wage security job where I or my husband would have to put our own health at risk and wear a mask for 8 hours a day or 4 to 6 hours a day for the shift. And I said, do you have anything available? And they said, no. And I said, but you're advertising that you have work available. And they said, oh, well, that's just advertisement. We don't have anything available. I recently went into McDonald's and I asked if they were hiring and they said no. So there are no jobs available. If we could, we would be working at a part-time minimum wage job to bring money in. In fact, we are working at a part-time minimum wage job. We are going so beneath our qualifications and putting ourselves through unnecessary anxiety through all of the surveillance and the abuse that the school district is piling on to the school bus drivers, only to be told that that job, too, is also going away permanently. So it's more important for us to take our excellent qualifications and our state-of-the-art skill sets that we have and apply it towards making really excellent creative pieces that you can share with the public. To us, that makes more sense than putting a mask on all day and flipping burgers. I think we could be more beneficial making video essays than flipping burgers, if those jobs were available even. But apparently, those jobs are not even available, especially in Pennsylvania. So, we are asking you to please share our work. If you can't afford to donate, then find a video on our YouTube page that you feel that anybody would enjoy watching, whether they are people who are all about COVID and masking and getting the vaccine, because we make videos that could appeal to those kind of people, and they could probably start thinking about things in maybe a different way. Because we're not hysterical, we're not reactionary, and we're not offensive. We're creative. And I know that you guys like our work. So if you could please share your work on your Facebook pages, or share it with anyone you know, then that will give us an opportunity to be seen and to have more subscribers, which would then give us an opportunity to earn an income. Right now, it feels like we're working for free. And although we love making it, and we're not going to stop making the work, and we're not going to stop interviewing these high-profile people, we feel that, in order to survive, we really need your support. So I thank you so much for listening this morning and really absorbing what I'm saying and taking our videos and sharing them on your own pages. Your support, just by being a subscriber to this page, is also really helpful. So thank you for that as well. I will download this and I will put it on our blog, and I will add, a couple of links to that as well. And then you can share this blog piece around as well. So that would be helpful. All right, you guys, I think that's really all I have to say. It's a little after 9. I've spent, about 20 minutes or so talking about this. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.